Hi, my name is Fatima Dirar.
And it's my pleasure to host today's webinar. This is the second time since I joined CPL that I'm hosting such a webinar. The previous one was a couple of months ago when we were talking about relocation trends. And this time we thought that we're going to bring a very hot topic for our clients and everyone who ever joined this webinar, which is about salaries. First of all, I just wanted to let you know that everything what I'm going to share with you, or at least most of the data, is going to be based on the survey that CPL has done over the past few months. Basically, we have analyzed the offers of our clients based on the offers that they have extended to most of our candidates. The agenda for today is going to be as follows. I will be talking to you about the importance of salary surveys. Then we will touch base a bit on why is it worth releasing salary surveys at all, and how often do we need to do that. Then I will give you some insights about shared service centers in Central Eastern Europe, and more specifically here in Hungary. We will be also talking about the most wanted languages, and of course we will walk you through, or I will walk you through on the different sectors within SSCs, and we will see what are the salary trends here. After my session, I will be welcoming our guests, and we will have a panel discussion with them about their thoughts and their impressions on salaries in the shared service or business sectors. And after that, we will be having some opportunity for questions and answers. So let's see, first of all, why are salary surveys important at all? Here, I thought that it would be nice to give you some insights about the Hungarian market. And it is very strange to see that the number of economical active employees in Hungary, they haven't really changed over the past year. However, we have to admit that people are leaving the country, and therefore the number of active employees are changing, at least the Hungarians. And of course, we are welcoming active employees from other countries in the surrounding neighborhood. The number of the open roles in the SSC sector, and as we said that we will be focusing on the SSC sector, it is very important to see that this number of roles have tripled over the past 1.5, 2 years. And as I just said a few seconds earlier, obviously, the number of active employees in Hungary who speak languages, and therefore they are the most needed people in the shared service sectors here in Hungary, and not only here but also in the neighboring countries. The number of these people will not grow as the number of open roles will grow in the SSC sectors. So we need to attract foreigners as well, and this also results in a drastic salary raises. We all can agree that salary is a very sensitive topic. I don't necessarily like to talk about my salary, and this is something that I believe it has to matter only to me and maybe to my family. However, we know that people they like to compare their salaries to each other. And the importance of salary surveys are very visible because people want to know their value on the labor market. And it is also a good occasion for companies, employers, to react to these salary demands. In Western Europe, it is not a new thing anymore that they state the salary ranges in the job advertisements. However, in Hungary, we still see that this is not so popular. And the reason why we think this is not popular yet in Hungary is because companies, they would like to keep this information as confidential as possible in front of their competitives. And it's also a case when a new joiner is already aware of the wage, of the salary that they are going to receive, whilst the existing candidates or the existing employees they can have a look at what a new joiner is going to earn, and this might cause some wage pressure problems, and this might result in the increase of fluctuation. I think another reason why employees wouldn't like to share the salary ranges with the job ads is because they will not have the opportunity to have a real, the opportunity to discuss the salaries, because then the candidates would like to stick to what they have seen on the job advertisement. To have a look at how often is it worth releasing salary surveys. In our experience, compared to the past, we need to release salary surveys more frequent. In the past, it was enough to release these surveys once a year. However, the salaries change so quickly that we believe that every quarter there is a need for these salary surveys to be reviewed. There are some sectors where it is very significantly growing and some sectors where there is no need to do that every quarter. In the SSE sector, it is obvious that the intense salary races are due to the multilingual candidates, so those who speak fluent languages apart from English, and this is the supporting languages that they will be working with. The SSE status in Central Eastern Europe and more specifically here in Hungary, we all know that it is a very rapidly developing sector. It is the second after the automotive sector that is growing. And in Hungary, they are available for a bit more than 10 years now in bigger numbers. Some of the SSCs are here available here in Hungary with just a few hundred employees, but there are very ones that are available with several thousand employees. Every candidate or every employee who would like to join an SSE, they are in a position to choose from various opportunities. They speak any additional languages apart from English. They have numerous opportunities within the SSE sector. The appearance of the Z generation is also causing a great change in the SSE sector. Previously, the average time that has been spent by an FE at any SSCs have been bigger. Now this time is decreasing, and it's currently on an average of 9 months. This also results in a huge payback of employing these employees. Obviously, this has decreased. You can imagine that the onboarding time or the training time is an investment from the employers, and sometimes 9 months is not even enough for the companies to get anything in return from the employed people. In Hungary, we can also see that apart from a lot of employees that speak different languages, and therefore they are very attractive for the SSCs, education has also responded to this trend, as there are several courses and qualifications that would allow you to be a good employee at any of the SSCs. As I mentioned, of course, the number of roles, they keep growing, and the number of available applicants are not responding to this growth parallelly. The average fluctuation is around 19% currently at the SSCs. Unfortunately, there are some companies who still struggle, and they even reach 40%. From an agency perspective, and I can definitely agree on this, there are a lot of roles where the time to hire is quite high. It's approximately 49 calendar days. However, there are a lot of entry roles where the average time to hire is very low. Many of our customers from the SSC sector, they have understood that they need to reduce their selection processes, their recruitment processes, and therefore they are more open to hold Skype interviews, to hold telephone interviews, video conferences, and to have assessment days where at the end of the day they can choose the best candidates and they can offer them a job opportunity. Most wanted languages. I have to admit, I think every language is most wanted today. But of course, there are some languages that are very challenging to find, and not necessarily because the language is very niche. It is just because the number of available people currently in Hungary are not growing as the demand is coming from companies. So whoever speaks any languages or any language apart from English and therefore is a multilingual on a very high level, this person has a quite easy go to any of the SSCs. Besides English, the most wanted languages currently are German and French. As I just said, it's not necessarily has to be very niche. One of the niche languages, or it is already niche, to find Dutch speakers, and Scandinavian languages are also very needed. And apart from these niche languages or very wanted languages, we've witnessed that the appearance of Central Eastern European languages such as Polish, Czech, Slovak, Slovenian, all these languages have become very needed as well. And of course, exotic languages such as Turkish, Arabic, Hebrew is also present on the market. On this chart, these charts are bought from our salary service that you can download. We will be giving you information on where from. But on this chart, I wanted to give you some insights about the customer service roles. And I have to tell you that these roles have become way more complex compared to the past few years. You can see on this chart that there are several language groups that are stated here. So language group 1 is those candidates and those salaries that only require English language skills, whilst the second group is additional languages such as French, Spanish, Italian, German, etc. So the need for multilingual professionals and more complex roles result in salary raises. At least 10–15% salary raises can be seen from junior level to senior level. And as I'm sure everyone is aware of the technology-driven operation that we can see in most of the companies, the reporting functions have become very essential. So on this chart, you can also see that people with VBA knowledge is way more appreciated than just a simple reporting person or a reporting function. And of course, the salaries are increasing from junior to senior level, as I said, with approximately 10 to 15%. This chart is about the IT support roles. This is a quite big part of the SSCs and the supports that shared service centers are providing to their customers. This market is very candidate driven. Candidates have the opportunity to demand and to ask for alternative employment types. They won't be necessarily employed by the companies. They could be working as contractors as well. Here in Hungary, it's not necessarily very popular, but the good IT candidate pool that is existent in Central Eastern European countries is very visible. First of all, when we are talking about the salaries, it is important to see the certain levels of the roles. So, for example, the entry-level roles, they do not require any educational background, and they don't even require any experience. So the salaries, they start here in Hungary approximately around 1,000 euros. And what you can see and what is very significant to mark here is that second line support. So those who have a few years of experience, they do not need to have educational background, but you need to have some experience. So compared to an entry-level role and someone who has already a few years experience, you can see that the salary raise is not that high. Whilst the third line supports, they are only available for people with IT educational background. As you can see, the salaries, they don't differ that much. Approximately 10% raise can be visible. Finance and accounting is another sector within SSC that has already been existing. Classical accounts payable, accounts receivable roles are available from junior to senior level. The demand for these financial professionals is great. We can also witness over the past few years that salary raises are significant. Language skills are very important, so not necessarily the educational background or the experience that they have received. They need to speak languages next to their educational status or their experience. In Hungary, you can witness on this chart that the salary raise between juniors and seniors is not as high as, for example, in the Czech Republic or in Poland. Logistics and procurement is also available in the SSCs. In Central Eastern European region, it has become very crucial to have these sectors available. We can also witness that these salaries are increasing year by year or quarter by quarter. And compared to the engineering sector, the SSC sector is offering way better salaries, let's say for a junior buyer or a senior buyer. This is something that is also required or given due to the language skills that they need to be speaking. Human resources is also a sector that is rapidly growing within the shared service center. The HR department has become a strategic player within the companies, and the demand for HR professionals have really increased. Many companies try to bring their recruitments in-house, and therefore they create a smaller or a bigger recruitment team within HR, depending, of course, on the size of the company. You can see on this chart that juniors to recruitment specialists or senior recruitment specialists. So the average growth of salary is somewhere between 15 to 20%. In our experience, even though if there is an in-house recruitment team, companies still need to ask for support from recruitment agencies, or they are doing RPOs next to that. So this is still going to be changing in the next couple of years. And now I have come to the end of my part, and I would like to welcome our guests. We've got Anna Kosh-Grazel, if I'm saying your name correctly. She's coming from Lexmark, and she's working as an EMEA recruitment specialist. And next to that, we've got Peter Fazekas with us, who is the head of global SSC at Acelity.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Welcome, welcome, guys. And we thought that it would be nice to bring some guests today for our audience and have a small discussion about their thoughts, about their insights. What do they experience, and how do they react to the salary demands that we witness on the Hungarian market specifically? So I thought that maybe if you could just give us very, very briefly, you do not need to give any numbers. What do you experience? How did your I don't know, hiring numbers or the number of closed roles change compared to the last year? So.
Okay, thank you. So actually, if we are comparing the last year to this one, it's really hard to judge and say any concrete information because last year in Lexmark we had a huge or a long headcount freeze, especially it was in my career tough period. So it took 4 months when we couldn't hire anyone. So that's why the last year's numbers or results are not really relevant. Mm-hmm. But I can say that this year, until today, actually, we hired almost the same amount of people like in the whole last year. So it's really,
so it's growing.
It's really busy, and it's getting busy and busier.
Good.
On our side, I don't see a major difference. If I look at what sort of plans we were having last year and what sort of plans we are having this year, and have they been impacted by the heating of labor market, they haven't really. So we still find the candidates. Of course, we have to. We did need to put in place a couple of actions and solutions to solve some of our issues last year, and more of that later on. But it doesn't really impact on how much people we are recruiting. And when I am talking to some other industry members, so leaders of other large shared service centers, they are usually telling me that even if they were looking at a say 500 people expansion in the relatively close future, they still think it's doable.
Mm-hmm. And what do you think So when we are talking about salaries and our topic for today is salary, does it influence anyhow the number of roles that you are able to close? So Anna said that they have hired a a number of people this year, and it's almost the same number as whole last year, and you don't see any significant changes, as you said. So this means that compared to last year, we don't see any difficulties, or you guys don't see any difficulties from salary perspective.
So I would add here that the thing that I've seen with this industry in the past few years, that although you can generalize about the ability to find candidates, still what I've seen is that it's more like there are some pockets of talent that are becoming extremely rare to find. And interestingly, those pockets vary year on year. And I think probably that's the reason for that is that when a new entrant comes to the market, or where there's significant expansion going on, then all of a sudden a project may target all the German-speaking GIA guys on the market, and they just vanish from the market for months. But then later on, that uptake just ceases to happen, and then they come back. So for me, it's really difficult to have the real answer to that question. But generally, I don't see a huge problem. Some pressure, but not a huge problem.
Okay, Anna, you are more operative recruitment specialist, or at least like Peter is not necessarily recruiting every day.
No.
So how did you first react to the significant demands when you first witnessed that someone is requesting a very high salary compared to the past? How did you react to that, and how do you overcome this situation?
Well, I would say we are just continuously learning from the market. It means that we are progressing the information from the candidates which are coming in salaries, and of course we are progressing the information from the exit interviews, so from our employees who are leaving us. But generally, I would say the behavior of us actually hasn't been changed in terms of salary negotiations. So if a position is really hard to fulfill, then we occasionally do or make some compromises and hire those people a bit with a bit higher salary. But we are taking always into consideration that it's a high risk, because employees are talking to each other, and
Yes.
they are not handling this information as confidential as HR would like to have it. In the most of the cases, I think we go further in the recruitment, and we just try to find a person who has an appropriate salary expectation, which is within the range.
This is going to be a bit provocative question that I will ask. Me as the division manager for multilingual team here in CPL, obviously we work with various clients from the SSC sector, and it has happened that one of our clients, so it wasn't an urban legend, it really happened, offered to one specific language. So it was a customer service role, and the applicants had to speak a certain language, and they offered a very, very competitive salary compared to what we already thought was competitive on the market. Obviously, there are differences between one client and the other client's salary ranges. So how would you react when you would hear or you would witness from your, I don't know, searches when you will be searching for candidates, or you, Peter, from the HR team, from the recruitment team, or from your outside vendors, that we won't be able to send you candidates because there is one or two companies who are basically sniffing away everyone from the market. Would you consider changing your, I don't know, strategies for offering salaries, or would you stick to what you have budgeted, and you would, as Peter say, wait for the wave to go, and those candidates would be coming back?
So I think it really depends on
agree.
how many positions we are talking about and for how long it happens. I think most companies have some level of tolerance for sitting out smaller peaks, but generally, even the biggest shared service centers are not enough to kind of withhold the wave and stop this salary increase spiral. And for us, what kind of started to work is that we don't treat this question in isolation, but we also look at what can we do. So can we, for example, offer a performance-based bonus whereby we tell our team members that there will be less people in this team, but the proceeds from that we will use to offer you higher salaries. And actually, for some of our teams, it works so well that we reached the highest level of targets with less people, but those people are well paid. So that's one way of doing it. The other thing is that I think there are sometimes coming those strategic windows of opportunities where you can time a technological change to this, i.e. you are moving to the next technological platform. There is some sort of saving from that, but you use a part of that saving to fund salary increase. And of course, everybody, I guess, but certainly we are trying to be cautious about that. But sure, one player will not be able to stop the salary spiral.
Mm-hmm. Anna, how is it at Lexmark? Do you guys stick to your strategies and your budgets for across the year, or is there a time when you go back to the business or whoever the influencers are and you tell them that there is no way that we can fill these roles with the salary ranges that we have, looking at our, I don't know whether they are competitors or not, but they would be looking for similar candidates.
I can just repeat Peter's expression. It depends. It depends on how hard to fulfill this particular position, how long has it been opened, I mean, job requisition, and of course, how complex the role is itself. So in the past, I had some experience when I had to say no for a candidate. So, the ranges are coming from the US, so it's not our competence to change them. And the compensation and benefit strategy is coming from US as well. And it's really important as the whole HR team should act like a whole team. We are in a really direct contact on a daily basis, really, with the compensation and benefit team, and of course, me personally, with the business as well. And I try to, so if there is some conflict or a situation where the two parts or sides are not agreeing on a thing, then I try to organize a meeting, and of course, try to collect the inputs from both sides. And of course, I had an experience for the other result or for the other situation that we went higher, and actually we changed the band or the grade of the role in order then we could hire the person.
So there are some tricks basically that
yeah.
we can have, or you can have as companies to attract people. In the previous webinar, I've been talking about relocation and how candidates or applicants would relocate to Hungary. And as a recruitment agency, I can definitely tell you that after a certain period of time, we need to attract people from outside of Hungary. Their salary needs are even higher than the local people. How do you react to this? Are you welcoming foreigners as well that speak niche languages, or you stick to what is available here on the Hungarian market? And is there any difference between the salaries? So do you handle them as, I don't know, expats and pay them better salaries in order to keep them, retain them, attract them, or
do you go the same way as with local people?
We don't pay them as expats, certainly not at a specialist level, but to be frank, not at any level at our shared service center. And I don't think that we as a company are very competitive from that perspective to be able to pay, especially the more developed countries, prospective employees. I think what usually, if I just think over our shared service center, who are there, who are just settling in Hungary, usually the reason is that either there is a beautiful girl or a handsome man at play who brings home those talented people, but not because that we are able to offer competitive salaries for a German, for example. Or maybe there's some personal thing going on which brings them to Hungary. But apart from a couple of, maybe Portugal could work, but we never invested too much time in this, to be honest.
And you guys, Anna?
Oh, we are actually quite open for foreigners, so we do not require Hungarian language knowledge. It's just the common one.
Same for us as well.
And actually, in the last, I would say, half year, we would be more open for candidates who are needing work permits, because these regions or markets are more important for us. And of course, support a country for the native language speakers is always the best solution actually for the customer point of view. So if the business area or the position's owner is open for a work permit needed person and able to wait the time or until we get it, then we go with candidates as well. And actually, our headquarters is in Geneva, and just because of this, or partially because of this, our culture is a French one within the company. So unfortunately, US is a bit far from Budapest, and as we have a lot of French managers within the organization, they are in a quite close contact with the French state, and we have a so-called VUE organization, which is a French state organization, and they are usually sending candidates from France to us. And of course, they have a higher salary than the other Hungarian colleagues, but this cost is not ours because they are receiving their salaries from the French state, actually. And my experience is actually that a lot of foreigners are here because of relationships or girlfriend, boyfriend, and so on. And after a while, they are just
adopting themselves.
Yes, and exploring the market. So they have, through their girlfriend or boyfriend's friend, some information about the Hungarian market. And I have really good experience that they usually accept what we are offering.
Well, we have some discussions with a few candidates that are not necessarily accepting the Hungarian salary ranges. This causes us some headaches sometimes to explain to them that we are not talking about I don't know, Germany or Netherlands or France, but it might be a struggle. But whoever comes here, they already educate themselves in advance, and they know what they can reach here. My last question to you guys is, do you see an end or any sign that is coming our way that would stop the significant and very drastic salary demands of applicants in the SSC sector? And how would you differentiate? So where do you see the biggest challenge? Is it an entry-level role, or does it go all the way with every role within the shared service sector? Or what do you think about this? Will there be an end soon, or we need to live with this?
I don't think the end is in sight, not from this perspective either. So if I look at what some of the industry members are telling me, then as I shared earlier, people are still rather bullish about their growth potential. If I talk about the Hungarian or talk with the Hungarian Investment Promotion Agency, it doesn't seem that the interest is waning for Hungarian new big projects. So I don't think the pressure on the labor market will ease. And to your other part of the question, Fatima, what level of potential employees are impacted the most? I think if you asked this question a couple of years ago, I would have said that they are the medium or senior experienced people. But now I think as more and more employers, and that's certainly true for us, are looking for entry level people, and we kind of take on the risk of educating them and just bringing them up to speed. I think that layer of the employees are also impacted from a shared salary level.
Anna?
I wouldn't separate this question to different levels. Actually, I can say that we are calling actually ourselves like an adult SSE. So in our organization, there are really low numbers of fresh graduates or junior levels. So we are concentrating or focusing rather on the experienced level of candidates. And I think they are, of course, impacted as well. But what I personally think it's important that we have other values, not only the salary. And I always focus on candidates who are not motivated just by the salary, but they are considering important things like markets or complex roles or responsible roles, and we can approach them with these things.
And I think what Anna mentioned is a great point, that especially in this market, how employers are able to differentiate them is getting more and more critical. And I think that's why some already jumped on the employer branding story, and especially the big ones who have really the money to fund that. But even the smaller ones now are thinking about that, and us included. And we are somewhat late in this game, but it's just we have to think this really over to create a sort of employer a value proposition that is known and that is attractive enough. And especially if you don't have a very a well-known consumer brand, and Lexmark is in a much better solution than Acelity, which is a wound healing equipment manufacturer. So in the healthcare market, nobody knows about that for understandable reasons. Then we have a disadvantage which we have to handle through more active employer branding.
Mm-hmm. And just one more question, and then we can give the voice to our attendees if they have any questions. What do you think about sharing salaries in job advertisements? Is it something that we can see coming in Hungary soon, or are we very, very far away from this stage?
I think we are far from this. To be honest, it would be a really good point if you could be there. So I think my job would be quite transparent if we would have the green light for sharing this kind of information. But on the other hand, I can see the disadvantage of these things, because as you mentioned in your presentation, Fatima, that we on the interview, I would lose my negotiation opportunity role actually.
Yes.
And that's why I think this is the thing we will, or it will be remained.
Before Peter goes on and answers the question, I just wanted to make a remark here that last night I read an article that has been released by profession.hu, And we all know that they are the market players here in Hungary in advertising or giving the opportunity, the platform for advertising. And according to their studies, they said that an advertisement where the salary range is stated would increase by 30% the number of applicants applying for the role, because there is no secret then, it is transparent, as Anna said, it is obvious, and everyone can decide whether this salary would be the right amount of money that they would like to earn. So it is very interesting to see, according to their studies. I have to a bit agree with Anna that it might be a bit far from here, but what do you think, Peter?
I agree with what Anna said generally. Just one more comment is that if I look at, for example, a pool of a given experience and a given type of job, then I will see that the salaries even within our companies do vary, and in a lot of the cases they vary with a reason. So it would never be kind of one single salary, but it would be it would be a range. Mm-hmm. But then a range would be relatively large based on a rather junior person who just make it so that he or she can, or a more senior person who is ready to move on and kind of maybe have a little bit larger role. So even if you give the ranges, they would be so big that I'm not sure they would bring that much of benefit. But maybe there's one way to find out.
Yes, we will be looking at this question, I guess, over the next few months and years as we move forward. Is there anything that I didn't cover, but you still would like to let our attendees know, our audience, or shall we move on to the question and answer section?
I'm good, not from my side at least.
Well, then, thanks a lot for Peter and Anna. They will still remain here with us. We will be switching to our Q&A mode, and you will have the opportunity to ask questions via chat. So feel free to send us any questions. I'm sure soon someone will be having a question. I know it's not necessarily a very proactive thing that people do after a webinar or a presentation, but we will remain here and wait for a couple of minutes to see if there is anyone with any question. Oh, hi, Balázs. So you're asking where did we get the salary information from? It is based on CPL's salary survey that has been done at the beginning of this year. So 2018, the first half of the year. I hope I answered your question, Balázs. Okay. And we've got one more question. What is your experience on the extent to which employee benefits above the basic salary are taken into consideration by candidates? Wow. And not so easy to understand, but I guess they would like someone, Anna-Marie would like to know what are the extra benefits above salaries. I guess the question would not necessarily come to me, but to our guests. So feel free to answer.
Yeah, so I think they do matter, although I think primarily what kind of catches interest first is your gross salary, but I think there's a huge role of the recruitment team and the organization itself to be able to highlight and market the value that cafeteria, enhanced healthcare services, whatnot can provide to the employees. And what we are hearing actually is that some of our employees who are sticking around for multiple years do mention to us that, this and this special benefit, like a healthcare benefit, which we provide because we are a healthcare company anyway, it's a differentiator, and we love you for that. So I think there is merit to that as well.
I agree, absolutely. For example, we are providing language courses, which are the 7 languages currently, and among them there is Hungarian for foreigners as well. So for the not Hungarian citizens, it's available. And cafeteria we do have as well, home offices. So I think candidates should see holistic the whole package, and the best is if they are deciding after that which position they are choosing.
Do you share on the interviews? So when you ask, obviously through it, of course, it depends on how many rounds of interviews do you hold. But when you ask for the salary requirement of a certain applicant, and they give you information about their desired salary, do you give them information on the interviews about the
Yes.
additional
Sure.
benefits? Okay. I hope we answered your questions or your question, Anna-Mari. And if there is anyone else who would like to hear something from us, we still got a couple of minutes before we need to finish. So if you have any additional questions, please feel free to ask. Okay, I'm not that surprised that we don't have tons of questions. It is quite normal. So then, thank you very much for being here with us. And I hope that these information that we've provided to you were useful. I would like to thank everyone who attended this webinar. And the guests for coming. It was really a pleasure sitting here with you over the past 50 minutes and sharing thoughts. So thanks a lot.
Our pleasure.
So stay tuned because we will be coming back probably in a couple of months time with something else, with something that is important either here in Hungary or in the SSC sector, or maybe other divisions that are also rapidly changing. So thanks a lot for listening, and thanks for our guests. Have a nice afternoon.
Have a great afternoon.